Okay, so here's the situation, right? Yo, here's the situation. Yo, Ark, thank you so much for the 20 months. Thank you so much. Okay, wait, chat. Here is the situation, right? Just because a unit gets buffed in Honky Starbucks doesn't mean they're gonna go tier 0, bro. Alright, case in point, look at my man Jing Liu. You know what I'm saying? To a certain extent, Blade kinda got better, but like, it's not really gonna guaranteeing this changes everything. Alright, this won't be an M-Tash moment, right? It will like depend on how much they actually want to change a specific unit. Personally, I can see Scylla, okay, or at least I can expect a Scylla buff to be like around the same caliber as Jingliu, where she's not gonna be like tier 4 after the buff, but probably closer to like a tier 1.5 or maybe tier 1. That is the best I can think of. So like if they were to give her like all of the changes that I mentioned in my previous video, then this is what it is. But I don't think she's still gonna be like going back to like the top 5 meta teams, which I think at this point the top 5 is like DOT. Okay, no. Elation flagship, Remembrance flagship, DOT, break, and then one more is either gonna be Finon or is either gonna be Archer between these two, or maybe even Mighty, right? So even if they do get a buff, I leave a DPS buff a lot more potential to grow up. Units that I do see a this changes everything buff, at least for now, right? At least for now. I think she will change everything. I don't think Firefly is gonna be the one that is gonna change everything, because Firefly is already pretty good, right? Firefly is already like around tier 0.5 caliber, right? Now, where getting buffed, I think she will change everything, because there might be a possibility where Elation don't have a dedicated Elation path sustain. So they either release another sustain that can give us the same caliber that Huan Huan is going to be able to provide, because you can already use Huan Huan right now with your Sparksy and Yao Guang, right? You can already use Huan Huan with, let's just say, for example, Archer, if you really want to. It's just that the skill point is really uncomfortable, right? So I see a world in which she will go alongside the same caliber as Hyacinth and DHPD. I see a world in which she's gonna probably go about a half tier, but it will probably be net 0, since the break shielding environment is gonna go away. Because to be fair, we did just get Dahlia's buff, right? We just got Dahlia in 3.8. So the last MOC rotation was kind of weakness shield, right? We had the Calamity boss, right? And then before the Calamity boss, it was like break. And then this one is like, she's not doing too bad. So like, I think she's still gonna be okay after a couple of like versions. Then she'll taper down. Scylla, I think she's just gonna go in tier 1. And then Welt Yang. Okay, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna say it. Bro is gonna become tier 0 when Himeko comes out. Yep, Himeko from Honkai and Battery, right? The next collaboration is actually Himeko from Honkai and Battery. They are gonna use Welt as a debuffer sustain, and then you're gonna run Himeko, Welt, Kiana Castellana, as well as Farina, right? So there's gonna be a Welt's placement, right? The only other like best in slot follow-up attack DPS is essentially Feixiao. Right, it's essentially Feixiao, right? And as much as I love Feixiao, bro, I love Feixiao, right? In case you guys can't tell, because Feixiao is the best DPS in the world. As much as I love Feixiao, cost for cost, purely from multipliers alone, she just doesn't really match up, right? Because she is a version 2 DPS, right? So I think what needs to happen right now is I need to slender my wife, because based on past track records, whoever I slender gets buffed. I slender Huan Huan gets buffed. I slender Firefly gets buffed. So from now on, bro, we need to slender Feixiao way more and say like Feixiao is the worst DPS in the entire world, so that Feixiao can get a Novaflare before Aggro, right? I think that is gonna be our main objective, right? I'm gonna need to get Feixiao and Novaflares. So every single stream from now on, we're just gonna, oh my god, bro, Feixiao sucks ass, bro. She's ass cheeks, bro. We're gonna send her every single day so that when she does get a Novaflare, ooh, that will be all according to my plan, right? That will be all according to my plan. So aside from Feixiao, we don't really have any other proper like follow-up attack kind of DPS that's gonna be synergizing that well with Asheville to the point where you want to run him as a sub DPS because we don't have IPC Island, which I am guessing, I'm hoping we'll see more options for Asheville because IPC Miss Tobas is a hunt follow-up. Aventurine used to be the follow-up team. Jade is basically semi-follow-up anyways, right? So like I really think IPC is probably going to be getting a suitable main DPS for Asheville to run Asheville's cheeks inside in that team. And when that happens, I think it will be a way more appropriate time to actually pull for Asheville. So if you are thinking of his pull value, unless you are an elitist, specifically an elitist that wants to run him as like either sustainless hyper carry, or you want to run him in like a Feixiao team where your Feixiao really has a lot of cost, like your E2 Feixiao, E2 Bubbin. I don't think that's too much of a sense getting bro right now, because you could just wait for a version 4 big boy DPS that can actually make full use of Asheville. And then by that time, I'm guessing they're kind of rerun his banner, right? Because they always rerun the goddamn support or the sub DPS whenever the main DPS comes out. So I think that would be like way more appropriate to go ahead and get him, right? So those are going to be my 2 cents on my experience with Mr. Asheville. Ooh. Yo, chat, while we are waiting, I will entertain any questions regarding the Firefly situation as well as Asheville. Are you gonna be a full-time Water Wave CC? Hell fucking no. My favorite Water Wave streamer, yay, thank you. Stream ends in 30? I have no idea. I have no idea if this thing ends in 30, right? What do you genuinely think about Sparksicle being the worst boss they ever made for shooting? It is also not even that bad. Cause it's more so that if your other version 3 units can't clear, it's gonna be a bit of a problem. But like, it's not really too good to judge MOC boss right now, because they always pair up the MOC shell environment with a MOC shell boss. I don't think she's as bad as Pollux though. I think Pollux was genuinely the worst shield boss ever in the history of HSR. Like, by like 10,000%. Sparksy is probably like, she feels around the same level as Ligas and Flame Reaver. Around that ballpark. It's not that bad. The only ones that gets cut like really fucking hard is probably D Herda Anexa. That one's a little bit annoying, but I don't think it's that bad. Anyone can heal Sparksy says if you do elation damage, yes. But back then, you had no one else to heal as good as here. And like, you dealt almost 0 damage. It was a lot more uncomfortable to clear. And like, the thing is, you still had to go through the entire notion of getting cooked by the almost 0 damage phase until you heal enough. Whereas for Sparksy, she basically prefers a lot of hyper carry. But even outside of hyper carry, like your DOT, your dual DPS, your super break, they can still all clear, like relatively well. So, and that's without even using like, the elation shield buff. So I think it's not too bad. Are you not worried about specific damage type only being too good? What do you mean specific damage type? Starfield is bad for half the DPS. It's bad for half the DPS if the main DPS itself in the Starfield is too cooked. Which is like probably your version 1s. Your version 1, and I guess your E0 Acrons is gonna be pretty bad. Now, I think Asheville is only good for rerun. Right now, it's gonna be a little bit not too worth it. Do you think that I modify a fly to do blah 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 instead of a sustain? Nah, I don't think so. Are you gonna read the stats or BV at a sure. Elation damage, erudition damage, whatever they invent. It's not elation damage though. It's just specifically that She is a Elation Shield boss for sure, but without having access to Elation Shield, you still clear Sparksicle relatively healthily. Which is, I think that would be my benchmark. Also, you can even look at, like, right now, the Anomaly Arbitration King, right? Like, Anomaly Arbitration King, a lot of teams are clearing within 3 stars. So I think that is a pretty healthy indicator of whether or not this boss is, like, too difficult. And you have access to buff 3, which is like a generic buff to, like, most teams. And they also had the buff for, like, DOT units. So I think it's okay. Which test am I gonna do? I'll do both of those. What do you want to be added for the free shop? If they add Hue in the free shop, that will actually be crazy. I don't think they will add Teep. I don't think they'll add any version 3. But if they add Hue, that will be crazy. Yep. Anything else is like, I'm kind of whatever. Because Bob already has a Archer and Sparkle, right? And then we need to open up our third sustain. Because I'm reading Gallagher, right? I'm literally using Gallagher. If they buff Hue and they add Hue to the shop, oh my god, bro. That's an easy ass fucking pick for my free to play account. So yeah.
You have cooled your last cool, my man.